Now the terrorists have both codes and can launch any time. Is there some other way to prevent the missile launch?
You need to find Hal Emmerich, the team leader of the Metal Gear Rex project.
What if he can't come up with anything?
You'll have to destroy it. Emmerich knows how to destroy Metal Gear. He's probably being held somewhere in the nuclear warhead storage building.
That place is filled with gas. Also, the floor is electrified. First, destroy the high voltage switch. Use a remote-controlled missile.
If it goes public, my company and I are finished.
Doesn't Metal Gear use currently existing technology?
Metal Gear itself does, but... Oh, what did you do to me?
Colonel, are you listening? Now he's dead too.
It looked like another heart attack, but...
Some kind of poison?
Stealth camouflage? Who are you?
Where is my friend? Snake.
I need that man. Keep your hands off him.
Remember me now.
Can't be.
Gray Fox.
You were killed in Zanzibar.
He was already dead.
Yes. But they revived him. They fitted him with a prototype exoskeleton and kept him drugged for 4 years while they experimented on him like a plaything.
These weapons were designed in the 60s and 70s and produced back then. Some of them were as much as 40 years old. The average age is more like about 25 to 30 years of age now. And you can imagine that if you had a car that old, you'd probably want to get a new one, but you can't. And getting parts to maintain that car has become challenging. They don't make them anymore.
Managed by the National Nuclear Security Administration, Stockpile's stewardship relies on the development and application of advanced technical capabilities to assess the safety, security, and effectiveness of existing nuclear warheads without nuclear testing.
And we've been doing that now since the late 1990s. And to this day, we have assessed those weapons and to make sure that, in fact, the weapons that are deployed for the defense of the country are safe, secure, and effective, meaning that, should they be needed, they will work.
How long are you gonna stay in there?
Are you one of them?
No, I'm not. I always work alone.
Alone? Are you an otaku too?
Come on, get out. We can't stay here forever.
Your uniform is different than theirs.
You're the Metal Gear Chief Engineer, Hal Emmerich, right?
You know me?
I heard about you from Meryl.
Oh, so you're here to rescue me?
Sorry, but no. There's something that I've got to do first.
Oh, well, at least you're not one of them.
Huh. Are you hurt?
I'm okay. I just twisted my ankle a little bit trying to get away.
Well, if that's all, it's nothing to worry about. I want to ask you something. I need information about Metal Gear.
Huh? Metal Gear?
Yeah. What's Metal Gear really designed for?
It's a mobile TMD. It's designed to shoot down nuclear missiles. Only for defensive purposes, of course.
Fire! I already know that Metal Gear is nothing but a nuclear-equipped walking deathmobile.
Nuclear? What are you talking about?
A weapon with the ability to launch a nuclear attack from any place on the face of the Earth. A nuclear-equipped walking battle tank.
The terrorists are planning to use Metal Gear to launch a nuclear missile. You telling me you didn't know?
They're gonna put a dismantled warhead into Metal Gear's TMD missile module?
Wrong. From the beginning, the purpose of this exercise was to test Metal Gear's nuclear launch capability using a dummy nuclear warhead. The terrorists are just continuing the work you started.
No, you're wrong.
I heard it directly from your boss, Baker.
No. A nuclear missile on Rex?
So you really didn't know?
No. All the armament was built by a separate department, and the president personally supervised the final assembly of the main unit.
President Baker?
Yeah. I was never told exactly what they armed Rex with. I only know it's equipped with a Vulcan cannon, a laser, and a railgun.
A railgun, you said?
Yeah. It uses magnets to fire bullets at extremely high velocities. The technology was originally developed for the SDI system and later scrapped. We were successful in miniaturizing it, in a joint venture between Arms Tech and Rivermore National Labs. The railgun is on Rex's right arm.
Metal Gear's main function is to launch nuclear missiles. You sure you're not forgetting something?
It's true that Metal Gear has a missile module on his back that can carry up to 8 missiles, but are you saying it was originally meant to carry nuclear missiles?
Yeah, but that's not all I think. If Metal Gear fired only standard nuclear missiles, then they should already have all the practical data they need.
No. Could it be?
The field of cybernetics that we briefly discussed last time was obsolete with the advent of modern artificial intelligence. But the ideas and dreams of Norbert Weiner lived on through a man who came after him, named J.C.R. Licklider. In 1960, Licklider wrote a paper called Man-Computer Symbiosis. In it, he made explicit what cybernetics only implied. Licklider argued not only that minds and machines can merge, and not only that they should, but that they will. In other words, that the fusion is in some sense inevitable. Licklider had already spent a decade at MIT working on air defense computer systems at the time of his paper's publication. Just 3 years prior, the Soviet Union had shocked the world by beating America to space with its unmanned satellite. The so-called Sputnik crisis convinced the US leadership that the Soviets were already ahead of them in terms of science and technology. In 1961, 1 year after Licklider's Man-Computer Symbiosis was published in one of MIT's academic journals, the Soviet Union once again shocked the world.
It was on this frozen desert island, in the most dangerous period of the Cold War, that the ultimate explosion took place. Novaya Zemlya, in the Arctic Barents Sea, is where the Russians demonstrated their nuclear might.
On October 30th, they tested the Tsar Bomba. It remains even today the single most powerful nuclear weapon ever. It was within this period of intense competition and fear that the strategy of nuclear deterrence took root in Washington, as in Moscow. In 1958, 1 year following the Sputnik debacle, already within the Eisenhower administration there was growing talk of a presumed missile gap between the empires of East and West. With the so-called Iron Curtain draping the Soviet Union in secrecy, American experts could not yet depend upon their nation's intelligence community for much actionable intel. That would later only change alongside technological advancements within the fields of imagery intelligence, IMINT, and signals intelligence, or SIGINT. And that would only happen once the presumption of Soviet technological and scientific supremacy scared both the US's people and its rulers alike into funding such innovations with taxpayer money. This threshold was actually crossed in February of 1958. As retaliation for Sputnik, the Eisenhower administration brought a new special government agency into existence on that day. It was called the Advanced Research Projects Agency, or ARPA for short. Within 4 years, its Information Processing Techniques Office, IPTO, would be helmed by none other than the man-computer symbiosis author, J.C.R. Licklider. What was the strategy of nuclear deterrence? The same year as the formation of ARPA, an important American think tank called RAND, the Research and Development Corporation, published a landmark paper on nuclear strategy and foreign policy called The Delicate Balance of Terror. Its author, Albert Wohlstetter, argued that the only thing preventing nuclear war, the, quote, thermonuclear balance, was so precarious, so unstable, that in order to secure lasting peace, the U.S. not only was to reprioritize making newer and better forms of weapons as well as countermeasures, but infamously that the U.S. itself should also be open to the idea that, quote, extinction is a state that badly needs analysis. Essentially, Wohlstetter's paper recognized what others in Washington had not. The mere fact that thermonuclear war will all but assuredly usher in global Armageddon would not be enough to deter the Soviet Union from developing ever stronger nuclear capabilities of their own. That meant that the balance of terror would have to be actively maintained not by inaction, but by innovation. Wohlstetter called on Americans everywhere to stop worrying and love the bomb. Not only would the U.S. arsenal need to be made first-strike annihilation-proof, Wohlstetter called for the development of surefire retaliatory doomsday devices, not to mention an openness on behalf of the American people to rethink nuclear annihilation as actually worth the risk.
When it is detonated, it will produce enough lethal radioactive fallout so that within 10 months, the surface of the Earth will be as dead as the moon.
Come on, this sounds ridiculous. Our studies show that even the worst fallout is down to a safe level after 2 weeks.
You've obviously never heard of Cabal Thorium-G.
Well, what about it?
Cabal Thorium-G has a radioactive half-life of 93 years. If you take, say, 50 H-bombs in the 100 megaton range and jacket them with Cabal Thorium-G, when they are exploded, they will produce a doomsday shroud, a lethal cloud of radioactivity which will encircle the Earth for 93 years.
Afraid I don't understand something, Alexei. Is the Premier threatening to explode this if our planes carry out their attack?
No, sir. It is not a thing a sane man would do. The doomsday machine is designed to trigger itself automatically.
But surely you can disarm it somehow?
No. It is designed to explode if any attempt is ever made to untrigger it.
Automatically?
It's an obvious commie trick, Mr. President. We're wasting valuable time. Look at the big boy. They're getting ready to clobber us.
The Delicate Balance of Terror went on to influence Stanley Kubrick's 1964 masterpiece, Dr. Strangelove, which itself was a huge influence on Metal Gear.
I commissioned last year a study of this project by the Bland Corporation. Based on the findings of the report, my conclusion was that this idea was not a practical deterrent for reasons which at this moment must be all too obvious.
But despite helping to ramp up the arms race during the height of the Cold War, the ideas of proponents of deterrence theory like Wohlstetter would soon become, at least by the late 1960s, out of style. It was then not hawks but doves who began to gain traction in Washington. As Vietnam dragged on, it became obvious that the delicate balance of terror was failing to deter large-scale war. To the contrary, the conflict across Indochina was motivated by a strategic cousin of deterrence, the domino theory.
Okay.
Fortuitously, while America had been waging its war, well before the tide of public opinion of that war had turned, J.C.R. Licklider was already setting into motion the course of events that would determine the type of society and foreign policy which would come in the wake of Vietnam. The same year Dr. Strangelove debuted, Licklider was already on his way out of ARPA. But with the decision that he made to fund early computer science research at universities, quote, Licklider neatly co-opted a substantial portion of the rising generation, end quote. His tenure at ARPA lasted just 2 short years, but that was all that was necessary for Licklider's proposed man-computer symbiosis as well as another idea of what would later become the internet to take root. These ideas flowered in the 1970s and blossomed in the 1980s. By the 1990s, they were all but reality. Licklider more or less conceived of the internet while also helping to legitimize and strengthen the disciplines of artificial intelligence and computer science. This one man turned an entire generation on to the power and possibility of digital machines. Sadly, though, all these pioneers and engineers who followed in Licklider's wake, from ARPA to later DARPA, IPM, and even elsewhere, would, in the name of peace, prosperity, and perfection, build a world order more potentially oppressive and invisible and powerful than any to come before, used by their government, not unlike the way that some governments will recycle nuclear waste produced by public power plants and covertly construct nuclear arms.
In fact, the weapons scientists get all the data, write the codes. What the simulation facility provides is a computer capable of running those codes, an infrastructure capable of storing the data from those codes, an infrastructure capable of visualizing the data from those codes.
That requires very fast computers. And as a result, Livermore has consistently pioneered the use of large, high-speed computers.
Sequoia is a 20 petaflop computer. That's a 20 with 15 zeros after it. It's hard to put that into perspective with the kinds of things that we use in everyday life, like a personal computer. But if I was comparing it to my personal computer today, I'd tell you it was about 400,000 times faster than my personal computer. Sequoia is going to be used for two different kinds of applications towards stockpile stewardship. The first is looking at individual science applications. For instance, materials. If you want to look at materials under certain pressures and temperatures, you can look at that at enormous scale and intense levels of granularity on Sequoia. So run a very large problem and learn new things about the way that material behaves under different constraints. Okay, so that would be running a code at a very large scale so that you could see things you'd never been able to see before.
Metal Gear's co-developer, Rivermore National Labs, was working on a new type of nuclear weapon. They were using NOVA and NIF laser nuclear fusion testing equipment and supercomputers.
So they developed a new type of nuclear weapon in a VR testing lab, huh?
Yes, but you can't use virtual data on a battlefield. They would need actual launch data. These are some of the supercomputers. If you link these, you can test everything in a virtual environment. But it's all just theoretical.
So this exercise was designed to test the real thing.
What did our president do? If the terrorists launched that thing... Damn! Damn! I'm such a fool. It's all my fault. The truth is, my grandfather was part of the Manhattan Project. He suffered with the guilt for the rest of his life. And my father, he was born on August 6th, 1945.
The day of the Hiroshima bomb. God's got a sense of humor, all right.
3 generations of Emmerich men. We must have the curse of nuclear weapons written into our DNA.
During the same era as Sputnik and ARPA, the Department of Defense began adapting to post-war scientific developments and modes of thought. In fact, it was much earlier in the decade that researchers at Los Alamos had built MANIAC. This early protocomputer was one of 3 that the researchers used to build the first hydrogen bomb. Statistical analysis and theoretical simulations were to become the wave of the future. But it would take commercial game designers, first ones of board games before later of video games, to give the Department of Defense next-generation war game capabilities. Throughout the 80s and 90s, commercial-military cooperation only intensified. By the conclusion of Desert Storm, the act of so-called defense conversion that we covered briefly in Episode 1 brought this relationship dynamic full circle. Hardware built jointly by the military and private sector would now serve both parties' respective interests. Commercial video games never looked better, while the simulation of a hyper-real version of war that they depicted meant that war had never looked better either. It was once again the actions of civilian technicians, developers, and industries that, however initially or completely well-intentioned, wound up being used by the military and government to further an agenda of their own.
I used to think that I could use science to help mankind, but the one that wound up getting used was me. Using science to help mankind, it's just in the movies.
That's enough crying. Pull yourself together. Where is Metal Gear? Where on this base are they keeping it?
Rex is in the underground maintenance base.
Where's that?
North of the communications tower, but it's a long way there.
The emergency override system for the detonation code is there too?
Yeah, in the maintenance base control room. You'd better hurry. If they were planning a launch from the start, then their ballistic program is probably finished. And since they haven't called for me in a few hours, they must not need me. In other words, they must be ready to launch.
Meryl's got the detonation code override keys. We'll link up with her.
If we can't override the launch, we'll have to destroy Rex. I'll show you the way.
On that leg of yours, you'll just slow me down.
You'll need me if you're gonna destroy Rex.
I don't need you. I just need your brain.
I created Rex. It's my right, my duty to destroy him.
If you get a chance, try to escape. When the coast is clear, I'll contact you by codec.
How am I supposed to escape from an island?
Okay.
So what then?
I want you to hide somewhere and keep me informed. You know this place well, don't you?
Of course I do. And don't worry, I've got this. It's the same stealth technology as the Ninja. Foxhound was gonna use them, but with this I'll be fine. Bad leg and all.
Good. But I want Meryl to watch after you too. Meryl, the engineer's okay.
That's a relief.
I want you to look after him. Where are you now?
Very close.
There she is! Over there!
Oh no! Damn, they've spotted me.
Meryl, what happened? Something's wrong.
Did you hear something? Wasn't that some kind of music?
What did she look like?
She was wearing the same green uniform as the terrorists. If she's disguised as the enemy, you'll have to contact her when she's alone, huh? There's only one place where we can be sure she's by herself.
Where's that?
Don't be so dense. Here, use this security card. It's security level 4.
You're not in pain, are you?
Huh?
You feel okay? Nothing bothering you?
What's wrong? Getting all friendly all of a sudden.
No, nothing. I'm glad you're okay.
You're strange.
I'm a little nervous. Everyone else I've saved suddenly dies.
You're bad luck.
Forget it, Doctor.
Call me Otacon.
Otacon?
It stands for Otaku Convention. And Otaku's a guy like me who likes Japanimation. Japan was the first country to successfully make bipedal robots. They're still the best in the field of robotics.
And Japanese cartoons played some part in that?
They did. I didn't get into science to make nuclear weapons, you know.
That's what all scientists say.
I became a scientist because I wanted to make robots like the ones in the Japanese animes. Really, it's true.
Just sounds like a childish excuse to me.
You're right. We have to take responsibility. Science has always thrived on war. Greatest weapons of mass destruction were created by scientists who wanted to be famous. But that's all over now. I won't take part in murder anymore.
Whatever. All I want from you is information.
Sure. I know everything about this whole base. Ask me anything about Rex or about this place. Also, With this stealth camouflage, I can sneak in and out of the armory and mess hall. If you need ammo or rations, just tell me and I'll bring them to you. I'm on frequency 141.12. See you later.
Don't move! That's the second time I've been able to sneak up on the legendary Solid Snake.
You're Meryl? There's no way you could pass for a man for long.
What do you mean? Hey, men aren't allowed in here.
I had no idea you were so feminine.
This is no time to try and hit on me, Snake. Besides, it's a waste of time. When I joined up, they gave me psychotherapy to destroy my interest in men.
Same smart mouth. You're Meryl, all right. Are you hurt?
Not yet. After all, I was disguised as a genome soldier.
So why'd you change? You'd be a lot better off dressed like one of them.
I got tired of disguising myself. The truth is, the uniform smelled like blood.
What's that mark?
Huh? Oh, this? It's a paint tattoo. It's not real. I was a fan of Foxhound way back, and guys like you and my uncle were in it. None of that gene therapy like there is today. You guys were real heroes.
There are no heroes in war. All the heroes I know are either dead or in prison. One or the other.
But Snake, you're a hero, aren't you?
I'm just a man who's good at what he does. Killing. There's no winning or losing for a mercenary. The only winners in war are the people.
That's right, and you fight for the people.
I've never fought for anyone but myself. I've got no purpose in life, no ultimate goal.
Come on.
It's only when I'm cheating death on the battlefield. The only time I feel truly alive.
Seeing other people die makes you feel alive, huh? You love war and don't want it to stop? Is it the same with all great soldiers throughout history?
Why didn't you contact me?
My codec was broken.
Is that all?
Shouldn't you just be happy we met up like this? How did you recognize me in disguise?
I never forget a lady.
So there's something you like about me, huh?
Yeah, you've got a great butt.
Oh, I see. First it's my eyes, now it's my butt. What's next?
On the battlefield, you never think about what's next.
So Snake, how are the negotiations going?
No progress.
So it's all up to you, huh?
Somebody's got to stop them from launching a nuclear missile.
There are two ways. Either we destroy Metal Gear, or...
we override the detonation code. You got the card keys from Baker?
Card keys? You mean this?
Where are the others? There should be 3 keys.
This is all I've got.
Where could the other 2 be?
I have no idea, but they must be somewhere. If we can't find them, we'll have no choice but to destroy Metal Gear.
Metal Gear is in an underground maintenance base to the north.
Take me too. I know this place better than you do.
You'll just slow me down. You don't have enough battle experience.
I won't slow you down, I promise.
And what if you do?
Then you can shoot me.
I don't like to waste bullets.
Got it. I'll be careful. You know, I don't use makeup the way other women do. I hardly ever look at myself in the mirror. I've always despised that kind of woman. I always dreamed of becoming a soldier. But I was wrong. It wasn't really my dream. My father, he was killed in action when I was younger.
You wanted to follow in your father's footsteps?
Not really. I thought that if I became a soldier, I could understand him better.
So are you a soldier yet?
I thought I was until today, but now I understand. The truth is, I was just afraid of looking at myself, afraid of having to make my own decisions in life. But I'm not gonna lie to myself anymore. It's time I took a long, hard look at myself. I want to know who I am, what I'm capable of. I want to know why I've lived the way I've lived until now. I want to know.
Take a good look. You won't get another chance for a while. You should wash your face, too, while you're at it.
Yeah.
This isn't a training exercise. Our lives are riding on this. There are no heroes or heroines. If you lose, you're worm food.
Yeah.
Is that FAMAS functional?
Unfortunately, it's out of ammo.
Where'd you get that Desert Eagle?
I found it in the armory. It's a .50 caliber Action Express. There was a SOCOM pistol too, but I chose this.
Huh, so I got a leftover, huh? Isn't that gun a little big for a girl?
Don't worry, I can handle it.
Come on, use my .45.
Listen, I've used a gun like this since I was 8 years old. I'm more comfortable with it than I am with a bra.